With the addition of Pokemon Home Pokemon to VGC, legendary Pokemon have never been more important to consider when thinking about how to build your perfect competitive team. There's been a lot of discussion lately about accessibility and how hard it can be to get competitively viable legendaries, so today I'm outlining the easiest way to legally obtain each of the legendary Pokemon that are currently legal in VGC. Hopefully this will help keep you all out of Genning jail and we can avoid a repeat of what happened at Worlds! Before we get into it, you can easily max out the IVs on any Pokemon by transferring it through Pokemon Home into Scarlet and Violet and then using bottle caps to hyper-train it up. Some Pokemon require imperfect IVs though, so I'll be touching on those when relevant. If you're not aware, some Pokemon excel in Trick Room, for example, where the slowest Pokemon go first. So in those circumstances, it's imperative to have a low speed IV to make sure that you're not going second against an opponent who's also using Trick Room Pokemon. Special attacking Pokemon also appreciate having zero attack IVs, though the importance of this varies from Pokemon to Pokemon. This is for a relatively niche interaction where an opponent could be running Foul Play, a move that does damage based on the defending Pokemon's attack stat. Foul Play is really not that uncommon a move though, seeing play on a lot of support Pokemon who don't want to invest EVs in their own offensive stats, so even though it's only one move, it's still worth grinding out those low attack IVs in some cases. If I don't mention IVs at all, just assume that the Pokemon is happy running maximum IVs in every stat. You can also get most of these Pokemon in Pokemon Go, but a lot of the time they're locked behind raid event weekends, so there's no knowing when they will or won't be available, so I'm just not going to be talking about Pokemon Go in this video. Let's start with the legendary birds. Zapdos has historically been the most successful of the trio, and it continues to be a threat in Regulation D. Your best bet is to catch it in Pokemon Let's Go, where it's a static encounter at the power plant. As a special attacker, it's nice for Zapdos to have zero attack IVs, and since it's a static encounter, you can save in front of it and reset pretty easily for zero attack. Articuno and Moltres don't have anywhere near the competitive pedigree of Zapdos, but Articuno was recently used on two separate teams in Day 2 of the World Championships. And Moltres is also a bird that you could use if you wanted. Just like Zapdos, it's easiest to get these two in Let's Go. Articuno is a static encounter in the Seafoam Islands, and Moltres is in Victory Road. These two are also special attackers, so it's worth resetting for zero attack IVs. If you don't have Pokemon Let's Go, all three birds are also obtainable in Dynamax Raid Adventures in Sword and Shield. Those are a nightmare to reset for IVs on though, so if you're catching them in Sword and Shield, you can probably afford to skip over the whole zero attack IV thing. Let's talk Galarian forms. You need Pokemon Sword and Shield's Crown Tundra DLC to have access to this trio, and they're all roaming encounters. Zapdos roams the wild area of Galar, Moltres roams the Isle of Armor, and Articuno roams the Crown Tundra. Zapdos and Moltres are both pretty easy. You just chase them down, and they're perfectly happy running maximum IVs. Technically, Moltres is a special attacker, but it's pretty bulky and also a dark type, so it resists foul play. Articuno is a really niche Pokemon, so you don't have to worry about it. Don't do this, Craig. Okay, so my editor really wants to run Galarian Articuno. If you're using Galarian Articuno, you probably want to use it with a Trick Room option. It also gets imprisoned, so that's pretty cool too. Anyways, it's a special attacking psychic type, so it definitely needs to be zero attack IVs, and as a Trick Room user, it might want zero speed IVs too. Articuno roams the Crown Tundra, so first you're gonna have to track it down. It's actually a pretty cool hunt, where eventually it'll split into 3 different Articunos every time you corner it. 2 of them are decoys, and if you guess wrong, he flies away and you have to do it all over again. The kicker with this particular hunt is that you can't just save in front of Articuno once you corner it to reroll IVs. You have to start the entire hunt over again every time. These legendaries are guaranteed to have 3 perfect IVs, so first of all, it's a 1 and 2 for the attack to be imperfect, then it's a 1 and 2 for the speed to be imperfect, and then it's a 1 in 32 for the attack to be 0, and another 1 in 32 for the speed to be 0. So every time you hunt down an Articuno, there is a 1 in 4,096 chance that it's your competitively perfect Articuno. Happy, Craig? None of the legendaries from Gens 2 or 3 are legal yet, so we're going to jump straight to Gen 4 with the Lake Guardian trio. Each of them is a little bit different, so we're going to go one by one, but they can all be caught in Legends Arceus, Dynamax Raid Adventures in Sword and Shield, or in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. Uxie is a static encounter in Acuity Cavern in both BDSP and Arceus, and it doesn't need any low IVs, so you can just catch it wherever and transfer it over. Mesprit is a roamer in BDSP, so it's probably easier to catch it in Verity Cavern in Arceus or as a Dynamax raid adventure in Sword and Shield. Azelf is the only one that needs a low IV, and unlike Zapdos and Moltres, it needs 0 attack IVs. Even though it will usually be a special attacker, Azelf also has a really high attack stat and a really low defense stat. It's also weak to Dark, so yeah. You'll want to catch it as a static encounter in Valor Cavern and BDSP so that you can easily reset for 0 attack IVs. The Lake Trio are extremely niche picks, but the same can't be said for Heatran and Cresselia, who are absolute staples of the format. Oh god, another special attacker that uses Trick Room, I hear you say. But have no fear. Cresselia is basically the inverse of Azelf, with really healthy defense stats and a very low attack stat. Even though it's hit super effectively by foul play, this one you can be at peace not running 0 attack IVs. It's a Trick Room setter, yes, but at 85 base speed, Cresselia doesn't really gain that much by running 0 speed anyway. Technically, it can be optimal to run lower IVs, but you really don't have to. You can catch Cresselia as a roaming Pokemon in BDSP, a max raid adventure boss in Sword and Shield's DLC, or in Legends Arceus at the Moonview Arena, and just bottle cap it up in Scarlet and Violet. Heatran is even easier. It's a static encounter in BDSP at Stark Mountain, so you can just save in front of it and soft reset for 0 attack IVs. There is a niche for Heavy Slam on Heatran as a Flutter main counter though, so if that's how you want to run it, it might even be worth not going for 0 attack. Everybody grab your magic lamps, you know what time it is, it's Genie time! Behind door number 1, Tornadus. Behind door number 2, Thundurus. And behind door number 3, Landorus. Now, let's spin the wheel! This is so stupid. I have no idea what that bit was. Anyway, if you're a newer player, your best bet is to catch Tornadus, Thundurus, and Landorus in max raid adventures in the Sword and Shield DLC, or in the Legends Arceus postgame. Tornadus and Thundurus really appreciate lower attack IVs, but they're both always a potential 2-hit KO for stab foul play anyway, so it's really not that big a deal. It's probably not worth the reset time. Landorus is usually run in its Therian form as a physical attacker, so you definitely don't have to worry about low attack IVs on that one. And that's it for the genies!
No, there is another.
Good news, everyone! Enamorus is a deceptively mid Pokemon, and you don't have to worry about it. I promise you. Enamorus Incarnate is mostly just run as a gimmick Pokemon with its Contrary ability, and that one doesn't require any resetting for its IVs. Enamorus Therian is better, and it's used as a niche Trick Room sweeper. And by used, I mean exclusively on Pokemon Showdown. But for fun, let's talk through how to get a competitively perfect Enamorus in-game. Enamorus is a pretty bulky fairy type, so you don't really need 0 attack IVs, thankfully enough. With its base speed of 46, you do need a good speed IV though. You don't need 0, anything 7 or lower will work as that allows you to underspeed minimum speed Ursaluna, Iron Hands, and King Gambit in Trick Room. All in all, that's approximately a 1 in 9 to get a usable Enamorus. That doesn't sound too bad? Not yet it doesn't. So how do you get Enamorus? Well, it's only obtainable in Legends Arceus for starters. First step, beat the game. Once you've done that, you have to obtain all 3 of the other genies. First off, you need to wait for a randomly occurring thunderstorm to catch Thundurus in the Cobalt Coastlands. Then you have to wait for a randomly occurring blizzard in the Alabaster Icelands to catch Tornadus. Finally, you need to catch Landorus in the Obsidian Fieldlands. After doing all of this, Enamorus will be waiting for you in the Crimson Mirelands. The kicker is that you can't actually check Enamorus' speed IV without transferring it to Pokemon Home first, and that saves your game. That means that in order to try again for another Enamorus, you have to delete your save data and play the entirety of Legends Arceus over again. I promise you, you don't need an Enamorus Therian. It's not even a top-tier Trick Room threat. One generation left, so let's talk about Generation 8. Regieleki and Regidrago are both legal in Regulation D. which is a little weird when you think about the fact that the other Regis aren't, but anyway.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not.
These two are obtainable in the Sword and Shield Crown Tundra DLC. You'll only be able to choose one of them per playthrough, so you will have to do this twice if you want both, but you can combo each playthrough with one of the Glastrier and Spectrier duo, which I'll talk about next, and kill 2 Pidgeys with 1 Geodude. First things first, for the Regis, you'll need to start off by obtaining all 3 of the original Regi trio. They're all locked behind riddles, but it's simple enough when you have a real YouTubist here to tell you the solutions. Regirock is hiding in the Stone Temple. To get in, all you have to do is have your lead Pokemon hold an Everstone when you interact with the door. If you don't have an Everstone, there's one on the ground in Turffield. Regice waits for you in the Iceberg Ruins. To unlock this door, you have to catch a Cryogonal and have it as your lead Pokemon. They spawn right outside the temple, so it's really not too much of a hassle. Finally, Registeel rests in the Iron Ruins. This one's the easiest of the 3, and you just have to whistle at the door by pressing the left control stick. After all of this, you can make your way to the Split Decision Ruins with the 3 Regis in your party. They do have to be the Regis from this save file, so no importing. You pick one of Regieleki or Regidrago by lighting up the correct lights on the floor. As for resetting, you can re-roll the IVs by saving in front of the temple. It's easy enough. Both Pokemon do appreciate 0 IVs in attack because they have a pretty low defense stat, but you don't have to worry about a 0 speed IV for either of them. Also, just so you know, there's a decent amount of content out there saying that you can actually obtain both in the same playthrough, but that was apparently just a glitch that's been patched out, so you will have to do it twice. Glastrier and Spectrier are a lot easier. You unlock one of the horses by just playing through the DLC storyline, which isn't too long. Earlier on in the storyline, you'll be asked to pick a carrot. If you want Glastrier, you pick the Ice Root carrot, and for Spectrier, you pick the Shade Root carrot. When it comes to IVs, Glastrier absolutely needs a 0 IV in speed, while Spectrier really appreciates the 0 IV in attack, being pretty frail and also hits super effectively by foul play. You trigger the battle by triggering a cutscene with Calyrex in his castle at the top of the mountain, so make sure you save before the cutscene for your IV rerolls. Finally, we come to the king of the format, maybe the most broken Pokemon in existence, Urshifu. Similar to the last 2 pairs, you can only pick one Urshifu form per save file, so you'll have to play through Sword and Shield's Isle of Armor DLC twice if you want both. And both of them are amazing Pokemon, so it is worth it. Thankfully, we don't need to do any IV resetting here, so it's just a quick speedrun through the DLC to obtain your Urshifu. If you want to put on your speedrunning shoes, the best way to do this quickly off of a new save file is to rush to the Crown Tundra as soon as you possibly can. If you do the Max Raid Adventure tutorial, you're rewarded with a level 70 Suicune who will obey you no matter what, and voila! Now you have a ridiculously overleveled Pokemon to breeze through all of the Crown Tundra until you get your Urshifu. Those are all the legendary Pokemon currently legal in VGC. I hope this video proves to be a helpful tool, and if you enjoyed it, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe for more Pokemon content. I've recently started a series of daily shorts where I give you a set for a popular Pokemon, so make sure you check those out as well. I hope everyone's having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night, whatever it is, wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you guys next time.